Righty ho, mad scientists. Welcome once again to the Mad Science Lab. We are so glad you're here. Now today we're going to be talking about women in excellence, and our woman in excellence that we've chosen for today is Dr. Antonia Demagante Brock. She's a brilliant research scientist in the area of agronomy, and you're just going to love meeting her, so here you go.
Hello, mad scientists. My name is Dr. Antonia Demagante Brock, but you can call me Dr. Tater. When I was young, I lived in a country called the Philippines. Some people call the Philippines an island in the Pacific Ocean, but that's not really true. The Philippines are over 7,000 tiny islands that form a single country. That's why so many wonderful and different things can be found there. When I was really young, my family had a farm there, and I got to learn how to grow different crops. As I learned, I realized that I wanted to learn even more. That's the reason why I became a scientist. I studied hard and got to become a special kind of scientist called an agronomist. An agronomist is a scientist that studies and perfects agriculture or farming crops. There are so many complicated things that cause the plants that we eat every day to grow. The weather, technology, differences in plants, even how the plants are planted. We studied all of that. My favorite plant to study is the potato. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Hey, I'm going to ask Professor Matt to show you one of the very first experiments that I did with potatoes, and you can do it right along with him.
Let's do an activity where we can compare things, okay? So I've got these two potatoes, which are pretty much the same size, okay? And I think we can do a comparison test here. This is what I want you to do. Ask your mom or dad, mom or dad, okay? Ask your mom or dad if you can look through a bag of potatoes that they have and see if you have some with little sprouts like this. And see if you have some maybe where a potato was back in the back of the cupboard and it's already started sprouting. Get two that are about the same size. Get 2 pots of soil, and then we're gonna plant one in here and we're gonna plant one in here. But before we do, I want to teach you a really cool word. It's called hypothesis. There's the word, hypothesis. Now, what a hypothesis is when you think about what's going to happen and you make some guesses about what's going to happen and you write it down and then you test it. The hypothesis is that guess part right there, okay? But it's not just you guess something, you really have some information or some idea about what's going to happen. So this is what we're gonna do. Do you think that this one will grow faster, or do you think that this one will grow faster? Okay, this one looks really nice and solid and has those little eyes like it's starting right there. And this one's a little bit shriveled up and it has these things coming out of it, these sprouts, that's right, that are coming out of it. So which one do you think will grow faster? I think I know. What I want you to do is get a couple of pots of soil and dig into them and plant the potatoes. You want to plant them deep enough so that you can't see them at all. You can't see them at all. They're really buried in there, okay? And then if you look right here, you can't see the potato. And I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. You wanna plant them deep enough so that you can't see them at all and cover it back up so that it looks like that and it looks like that. Now, I'm gonna put a little bit of water in each one, just a little bit, and just a little bit, okay? And then I wanna keep them dark and moist. Have you decided which one do you think is gonna go faster? We're planting the whole pieces of potato here, but let me tell you something. Here, let me show you on this one. If we wanted to plant a potato by slicing of the piece of potato off, we could do that as long as one of these eyes were there for a sprout, right? And there's one there, and there's a bunch there. So we could cut this one in half. It's better if it has 2 or 3 on it just to make sure. So we could grow 2 2 different pots of potatoes with this one right here. Pretty cool, huh? Now, have you made your guess? Which one do you think is going to grow faster? The one that looks like this with the eyes showing, or the one that looks like this with the sprouts? Which one? I think most of us were guessing this one with the sprouts because it's already started. So, do your experiment, plant them side by side. Do me a favor, take a picture, but take 2 or 3 pictures on different days, send it to us at Mad Science OKC on our Facebook page, and we would love to put the results of your experiment up on our Facebook page. How cool would that be?
Oh, that's pretty cool. While we're waiting for those potatoes to grow, let's talk about where potatoes come from. Do you know where potatoes come from? With potatoes growing in so many different places around the world, you can imagine that there are many different kinds of potatoes. Look at this picture. Yup, those are potatoes. And all of those potatoes are grown in just one place. Science is so much more than just what happens inside of a lab. Our lab, in fact, was actually in fields all over the world. Like where I grew up, the Philippines, or where potatoes started, in Peru, or Ireland, or Burkina Faso in Africa, or Mozambique, or even in Vietnam. Many scientists choose to study the world around us in all sorts of places, and science is studied by all sorts of people, even people who look just like me and you. Yes, even you. And sometimes the things that scientists learn are used to help people all over the world. One of my favorite teachers was Dr. Peter van der Zag. He can tell you even more about the work that we did.
You see, traditionally, potatoes grew in areas like I mentioned Bangladesh. That's 20 degrees north latitude and further north. In southern China, I do the same thing. But Toinette worked in an environment that was at 14 or 11 degrees north latitude, which is a warmer environment. And that was totally brand new science. And that was a big leap forward. We started first doing this work in the Yurimaguas of Peru in the Amazon jungle, but that didn't last. But in the Philippines, we had some amazing success for all those years that Toinette worked on it. And she was really I would say, the pioneer, along with colleagues, to make a good story out of growing things in a warmer. And isohyperthermic means that the temperature variation during the year is always very small, and it's always high. It's always hot.
When you
So
say
that's-
small, you mean small potatoes, but a high yield?
No. A small variation in temperature between seasons.
Okay.
ISO means constant, okay, the constant line, right?
Right.
And hyperthermic means warm or hot. That's why she was always wearing things over her head and always perspiring. So that was the unique part of our research that was done in a very tough environment.
Okay.
And that really opened the door for all the technology we've developed since then to allow potatoes to become the most important food crop, more important now in the tropics than it is in the temperate zones.
Right.
Think about that.
So we did experiments on how potatoes might grow in really hot areas with less water. We can do that experiment together as well. You can do it at home while we do it right here in the lab. A potato is a special kind of vegetable called a tuber, and that's what will grow for the plant. The tuber that we eat is also the seed that we plant. Let me show you. So for this experiment, we're going to need 4 different pots, all filled with soil. Next, we're going to take our potatoes. The potatoes that you find, you're gonna want them to be sprouted. See, like these sprouts right here? I already cut some, but we're gonna take these and we're gonna cut them in half, just like this. And we gotta make sure that there are sprouts on each half that we plant. You can even plant a full potato as long as it has sprouts. So we're going to dig deep in our pot and we're going to put our half right in there and cover it with soil until you can't see it anymore. Just like that. And then we're going to do that for all of our pots, just like that. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna place these 2 in a warm room. One of them we'll cover with a box so it doesn't get light. The other one is going to get light all of the time. This one is going to go in a cool room. One of them is going to get light all of the time, and one of them is going to be covered with a box. We'll check back on these in 2 weeks and see what happens. All right, mad scientists, it's been 2 weeks and we're here to check back on our potatoes. So, first of all, over here we have our control potato. Doesn't look like it's grown very much. In fact, it doesn't look like it's grown at all. Over here, we have our potato that was put in a cold environment, and it doesn't look like it's faring too well either. We don't got much going on in here. This potato was put in the room full of light and it was hot. So, if you look really, really closely, mad scientists, you can see a little sprout. Wow, that's really cool. But if you take a look over here, this potato was placed in a hot room and was dark all of the time. And check it out. We've got a whole potato plant sprouting out here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 whole shoots. Isn't that so cool? So, from this we can conclude that out of all of the different ways that we can plant potatoes, for this potato, the best way to plant it would be to put it into a room that's warm and have it be dark all of the time. And there we have it. We got ourselves some really cool potato shoots. So now that we've seen what they look like above the soil, let's take a look at what they look like below the soil. So, I'm gonna take a paper towel, and this is gonna be our control potato. Let's dig it out, see what's going on. Whoa, looks like our potato has a lot of roots. Check it out. It doesn't have any sprouts. It has these little eyes right here, but it has a ton of roots, and you can see it here from these dangly bits. All right, now let's take a look at what's going on with the potato that was in the cold. Let's dig it out, and ooh, this one's got a lot less roots, only a few. In fact, not much is going on with this potato. Just a couple roots, and that's about it. So let's take a look at the potato that was in the hot room and got lots of light, the one that had the little green shoots. This one, like the one in the control group, also has a lot of roots, which you can tell from all of these dangly bits right here. And unlike the control group, it has some little green shoots. All right, so now let's take a look at what's going on over here in this one. Oh man, this potato has lots of roots. Whoa, look at that. In fact, it's got so many roots that it's holding all the soil in the pot together. Whoa, that's awesome, mad scientists. And check it out. If you move it over here a little bit, you can see our original potato in here and the shoots. So, mad scientists, that's pretty cool. We got to see what it looked like both above the soil and under the soil. Isn't that really cool? Peter makes being an agronomist seem so glamorous, but really, being a scientist that studies farming can be very difficult work. Every day, I had to wake up really early and wear a special outfit that made sure that I didn't get burned in the sun. In fact, this is how I would dress to go into my lab, the potato field. It may look silly, but it was hot, and dressing like this helped protect me from the sun. Plus, I use this to wipe away the perspiration on my nose when I get really sweaty. Potatoes, tubers, or spuds, no matter what you call them, they can grow in almost any climate, at almost any altitude, and in almost any shape or size. Although it wasn't always like that. The first potatoes were found in Peru thousands of years ago, and were almost inedible compared to the juicy, tasty taters we eat every day. But thanks to early agronomists like me, potatoes have become larger, more diverse, and most importantly, yummier over time. When you study potatoes like me, you have to travel all over the world. So I traveled all the way from where I was born in the Philippines to England, where I received my education. Then to Canada to learn more about potatoes and work on Peter's farm. And then to Idaho to work with one of the largest potato farms in the United States. They're so big that they supply all the potatoes to the McDonald's restaurants for their French fries. And I got to work on a project that helps keep the potatoes fresh even after they're harvested. After that, I even got to go to Mozambique. That's where I got the chance to take what I had been learning and experimenting with and teach other farmers how to grow their crops even better. Do you remember when I told you that there are many different kinds of potatoes? The reason may be because our world has different kinds of weather. The kind of weather that can be found in Mozambique is called isohypothermic. That's such a big word. So big that there are 3 words inside of one. Iso means soil, hyper means high or sometimes big, and thermic means temperature. So put that together, and isohypothermic means high temperature soil. You see, the soil where you live changes in temperature as the seasons change from warm to cool and back to warm again. But there are some parts of the world, like parts of Africa near the equator, where temperatures are almost the same all year round. And that temperature is very warm. In fact, we had some of the first research on potatoes in that region. And I used what I learned when traveling to Mozambique to teach the very hungry people how to identify and grow the types of crops that would not only survive, but flourish in very warm places. Hey, let's play a game of matching potatoes. This should be fun, mad scientists. I'm going to show you a picture of a potato, and I want you to help me guess what part of the world it might grow best. Ready? Here we go. Take a look at this one here. This kind of potato is called a chana. It has a blue or purple color and is wonderful for frying. But because it comes from a place that has hard rains and dry summers, it's best to soak the potatoes before cooking. It's one of the oldest kinds of potatoes and comes from Bolivia or Peru. What about this one? This is a kind of sweet potato that is grown in summer when it's dry. The other half of the year, farmers grow rice. That means that this potato ensures that people can grow food all year long. Do you know a place where lots of rice is grown? Yes, this sweet potato comes from Asia. And what about this one? This kind of potato has a strange white color because it grows in a part of the world that sees almost no water all year long. In fact, this potato has been grown in some of the driest places on Earth and is sometimes eaten by both people and creatures, like elephants. Have you guessed? Of course, this is an African white potato. And what about this one? You've probably seen this kind of potato in your supermarket, or even in your kitchen. It's called a russet. So, if you know what continent you live on, then you've probably already guessed that this is a North American potato. Potatoes come in many different shapes and sizes because our world has places with different amounts of water. Professor Mad is now going to show us an activity for growing potatoes in water right now.
We are going to see if we can get this potato to wake up. If you look right here real close, see all those little spots there? Those are the eyes I was talking about. And this one's starting to wake up, but we want to help it along, and we're going to really wake it up because we want it to look like this and start sprouting. So what we'll do is put it in a cup of water. And this is how we're going to do it. We'll pour some water in here. And if you look carefully, you'll see right here, it looks like there's a little stem. And the eyes are on the other end. So we want that stem to go down into the water like this so that it will be able to soak up the water and the eyes will be able to sprout up here. And the way we do that is take some toothpicks and just kind of poke it in the side like that. And like that. And like that. And there we go. Now, if you want to do this at home, make sure you ask your mom or dad, parent or pet, well, not the pet, because they'll probably get French fries. Ask your mom or dad if they can get you a cup of water and a potato that has little indentations like that, are the eyes. And then put some toothpicks in it, set it in, not quite a windowsill, but someplace where it's kind of sunny, but not right in the main sun, okay? And then wait about a week or two, and that's going to start growing. Check it every day, it's gonna be cool. Yep. Each eye will form a stem bud from which a new plant can sprout. And when these buds are exposed to warmth and moisture, they'll begin to swell and they'll sprout into entire stems with roots growing from their bases and leaves at the top. How cool is that? All right, so we're gonna leave this right here. And remember, it's got those little eyes right there. And pretty soon, it's gonna start sprouting here.
Just like potatoes, scientists come in all sorts of shapes and sizes and can be found all over the world. That's why my work today has taken me all the way back from Mozambique to the Mad Science Lab. Did you know that while many students your age say that one of their favorite things to learn is science, by the time you get to high school and get your diploma, that might have changed. In fact, few high school graduates choose to pursue degrees or even careers in science, and only about 1 in every 5 scientists is a woman. When you think of a scientist, you probably think of someone who looks like this. But girls, as well as boys, can grow up to be scientists just like me. When you hear the word scientist, don't always think of this, but think of this as well. You are a scientist. And at Mad Science, we travel across the state and bring more science to you, so you can think of yourself as a person who can travel anywhere and become anything. So we learned a lot about agronomy and potatoes today. We learned how the climate and sunlight affects how potatoes grow. And we learned how we can experiment and produce better crops no matter where we live. But I hope the most important thing that you learned is that no matter who you are or where you come from, you can become a scientist and you can change the world. We've had a lot of fun today, but I hope you'll continue to think of science as a fun thing to do, whether you look like this or this. See you soon.
Because there are so many ways that you can actually grow potatoes.
Really?
So many. What we grow is what we eat, the tubers, we call them the tubers. I have some of them I have to plant. But hey, why plant them when you can eat them?
Yeah.
Yes. So we introduced this what we call in vitro propagation actually to Vietnam. So we did a lot of work with that. So they made something that looks very silent. I mean, it's kind of like intimidating for farmers to see that they're growing in let me show them to you. Like that girl there,
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. So what we did, we really made it very simple so that farmers could actually grow them in their own homes. And this is in Vietnam. And where there is a need, that's where we get success because I mean, there are a lot of people in Asia, especially Vietnam. So there's a lot of manpower. So we made it very simple. They actually grow these materials using some locally available like trees, and then they're able to do it. I mean, made it very simple. So now a new industry actually came up. So they grow these little plantlets here into like little pots, and then instead of growing from the tubers, they grow them from those plantlets.